Good morning. Welcome to American Reversion. How are you all today? I want to talk about evil rulers, what's happened to our country, and how we should look at it and deal with it. One of the first things that I do every morning is read from the Bible, and then I usually watch a sermon by another pastor somewhere. A couple of my favorites are Charles Stanley and Adrian Rogers. Lately, I've been watching a lot of Charles Stanley. He was one of my favorite preachers. Kelly and I had a chance to meet him one time at his church in Atlanta, and just always loved him. I occasionally put the sermons that are online from him over on the church channel, Patreon channel, because I can't do it on the YouTube. I'd advise everybody, to, if on a daily basis, start your day with the Word of God, understanding and going to Him. The problems we have are far beyond our ability to deal with without Him. Our country was built on the reliance on God. It has fallen apart as a result of we as a nation getting away from reliance on God, and our only chance of bringing this thing back together is going back to Him and asking Him to take it in His hand and direct us in what He wants us to do. Now, this does not in any way minimize our civic obligations to vote, to stay in touch with what's going on, to stay to keep on having what effect we can. And as a matter of fact, this morning's message from Stanley was about surviving in our current culture. It was a really good one. I'd suggest that if you're on the church channel, watch it on the Patreon channel. Watch that. If not, you can find it on YouTube. I'm sure it's just called. Look up Charles Stanley surviving the current culture. I also did last night, and this kind of fits in with what we're talking about. I did an interview last night with my oldest son, and it's also up on the church channel. And it was about why young people fall away from their faith, especially when they go to college. and a lot of people, we pretty much understand that, because if they haven't been given a good foundation at home, when they're exposed to the temptations and the alternative views of the secular world, it does have its effect, and my son Aiden explains it very, very well in that. A surprising statistic that I'll just share here for a moment, we cover it in more depth there, is that there was a study done that found that 81% of college students at state universities, secular, non-religious universities, fall away from their faith during their time at school. And I could tell you personal stories about that, people we know that's happened to, and I'll probably do that over on the church channel one of these days. But you all understand that the surprising thing though was this. What was surprising to me, that 50% of those who go to Christian colleges essentially fall away from their faith during their time at school, and that is amazing. That is amazing. That shows you what has happened. It shows you the lack of foundational principles that have been taught, stressed, supported, and instilled during their time at home. If they can be shaken from it, half of them, while going to a Christian college. It will also say something about Christian colleges, that just because a college is so-called Christian, there are many, many different flavors of Christianity, right? And some of them are quite liberal. And I won't get into a religious conversation on this, but you have to be careful with that. And I'll stop that right there. I'm gonna go over. I want to share a couple of verses that I that I read today, and it kind of leads into what I want to talk about. And I was in Proverbs, one of my favorite books, as I'm sure it is probably most of yours. And the first thing that stuck out at me is this. It's in the 28th chapter. It's when there is moral rot within a nation, its government topples easily. How about that? It goes on to say, but with wise and knowledgeable leaders, there is stability. Well, let's concentrate on that first part just one more time. When there is moral rot within a nation, its government topples easily. Now, it didn't say necessarily that when there is moral rot within the government. Okay, it says when there is moral rot within a nation. That indicates it's a national problem. And this goes back. This shows you just a second. It shows you. See, this is not just a recent problem. I mean, they're talking about this. Solomon's talking about this. Okay, so it's nothing new. This is the human condition that we have to deal with. And now we jump over to the 15th verse. A wicked ruler is as dangerous to the poor as a lion or bear attacking them. Okay. And then if we jump back a little bit, and it says on verse 5, evil people don't understand justice. Oh, that's right, evil people. What's evil? When you call good evil and evil good, that's evil, right? When you have an evil government, you have endangered the people. When you have moral rot within a nation, you encourage evil government. Okay, what's my point here? My point here is, even though we talk a lot about the need for a reversion in America, and we talk about the political reversion, the political reversion is not going to come until there is a moral revival. You know, we were told that the Constitution of our country was only meant for a moral and religious people, and certainly we've gotten away from that. The interview with my son talks a lot about the reasons for that. We've lost generations. If you are my age or maybe a little bit younger, and certainly if you're older, you remember when going to church every Sunday and using that day as a day of rest, a day of families coming together, a day of worship, a day of understanding, a re-energizing our understanding of the Word of God, of His desires, His direction, seeking God. And many people, kind of got away from it during the week. Things would slide, and then they'd, get a recharge on the next Sunday. But you remember that, and the world was a much different place. And some people will say, well, it doesn't mean it was more moral. Well, I would contend that it does. I remember those times. People didn't used to act like they act now. Music wasn't the way music is today. Literature wasn't the way it is today. Pornography was not widespread as it was today. Child abuse was not as widespread, and there will be some who will come on and say, well, child abuse still happened. Yes, it did, but it wasn't excused. It wasn't excused by some evil, misled psychologist and then a support group around that, claiming that it was simply an alternative lifestyle that should be not only accepted but celebrated. Those aberrant behaviors that we are warned about in the Bible were not accepted in the greater society. Now they are. Now they are driving forces in our society. We look at what might happen during this year, this election year, 2024. And I was going to make a much different video on this today about this year and the elections until I read this and I watched Dr. Stanley's sermon this morning. But we think about the upcoming election and this election season, and we think that our fight is political. No. Politics is how we wage the fight. Our war is a spiritual war. It is a war against evil. And one of the first battles of that war is within ourselves. We have to overcome our own reticence to standing up for what's right, standing against what's evil, and making the declarations clear to the world around us. And many people fail in that first battle. They prefer to, out of fear, to be honest, fear or laziness. They prefer to stay within themselves. They don't want to take a chance by expressing their opinions. And the people on the right side are far more guilty of this than the people on the left. The people on the left get up and promote their feelings loud and proud. Too many people on our side don't. So they avoid the battle. They stay on the sidelines. They want to stay on the hillside, watching the battle below them and rooting for their side and saying, we need to win. You've seen, or you've maybe read of the times that back in the Revolution, the people would come out and watch the battles, take picnic lunches, and watch the battles, and sometimes during that war between the states as well, because they were spectators in it. They weren't, and they might have been rooting for one side or another, but they were no more involved than the spectators at a football game who are rooting for their side. They're not in the fight. They refuse to be in the fight. And this is why America has declined and is collapsing. And whether our country, or I should say the United States, whether our country finally collapses completely or not, rests in the hands and the hearts of everyone who cares. Because just because somebody says that they care doesn't mean they care. It means that they just want to act like they're a part of something. Okay. They want to complain. Half of those who say that they care really want to complain. They're complaining about things. They're not caring about it, because if you care about something, you'll do something about it. Simple as that. And we have too many people who won't even engage in that first battle and win that first battle within themselves, of saying, okay, I'm going to come outside myself. I'm going to do something. I'm going to express my opinions, whether it's among family, friends, work, the world, whatever. I'm not going to sit idly by. I'm not going to remain silent in the face of evil. How many times do we repeat this very famous saying by Edmund Burke, and that is, all that's necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. My contention has always been that if in the face of evil, if you do nothing, you can't consider yourself a good man. That's something that everybody should think about. You have to be a part of it, and many won't. Probably many of you watching this won't. You'll say, well, he's just saying, some stuff that sounds pretty good, but it's just too much trouble. Too much trouble for me. I don't want to risk my. I would rather be berated by people in my family or friends or at work. I would rather just keep my head down and listen to the evil that is spouted and that is winning, than bring my head back up and stand and defend what I know to be right. And I just can't do that. Well, that person is a weak person. If that's you, you're a weak person. I'm sorry, but you need to do something about it. God will strengthen you if you ask him to, but you need to stand up and do it. But this This war will not be won unless those first individual battles are won. And that is within each person to do it. And my question here is that will you do it? Will you do it? I hear complaints all the time. Every time I get together with like-minded people, I hear complaints. How horrible things are, and this and that and ought to happen, and if Trump wins, things will be better, and if whatever like that. Well, first off, I agree with that. But just in the political sphere, if you don't do anything, will the person who you want to win? Maybe not. Maybe not, because you won't do anything. You see, thinking is different than doing, and talking is different than doing. And it's the doing that wins the battle and then wins the war. If people don't do this, we're given over to evil rulers, and the evil will continue. You know, there's the old saying, and many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with this. For want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, a horse was lost. For want of a horse, a warrior was lost. Or a knight, some would say. For want of a warrior, a battle was lost. And for want of a battle, the war was lost. That points out the significance of the small things, the importance of the small things. And it's the small things that people so easily ignore. Well, that's just small. Well, I just can't do much. Well, I just can't do that. It's not going to make any difference. My vote doesn't count. It's not going to make any difference if I speak up in this group that's discussing things. It's not going to make any difference. And it does. Because you have no idea what part you might play if you will stand up and speak out. It's not a matter. You don't have to go out there and do anything, physically challenging, except stand up and do something. Express your opinion. Support what is right. Stand against what is wrong. Stop supporting evil by refusing to stand against it. This is the individual battle that's the start of everything. And these are the individual battles that, when hundreds of thousands and millions of these individual battles are lost, lose the war. And you lose them by not fighting them, by not participating in them. So I hope that you all, as we go through this, and it's not just this political season, this is for the future of our country. And our country may collapse. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. But if you don't want it to, don't excuse your laziness by saying that you can't do anything. Because you can. You can stand up and you can speak out and you can talk with friends. You can become politically involved if and you should. But first you have to be spiritually involved. So, one thing you can do, share this video. The first thing you should do is be getting involved spiritually and vocally yourself. But then share this video. Share other things like this video. Make your own videos. Do you have a YouTube account? A channel? Oh, Steve, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that at all. I just, well, how do you know? I never wanted to do this. But it's important enough for me to do it. And it's a lot. Well, I'll stop it right there. You can do it. What if you had a YouTube channel? I mean, because this one is very small. You know why my my channels are very small because I'm not bombastic. I don't get excited. I simply come on and try to tell the truth. You can't handle the truth, says Jack Nicholson, right? And that's hopefully not true of you, but it's true of so many. People aren't excited by the truth. Are they? No. Well, the truth is what will set you free. The truth is what will set us free if we will do it. But it has to be put out there. A truth in your heart is good, but it doesn't affect the world around you like truth spoken to others. So, what if you did put up a YouTube channel and you got 20 subscribers and you got 30 people watching your videos? That's 30 more that would have heard your opinion. And you're part of the battle than if you hadn't done it. That's just an example. There are many ways for you to do it.